Yesterday I did a video on this, but the sound was really crap, so I'm just redoing it. At the Global Trader Club, we anticipate and calculate cycles, which means we understand when the market is going to shift or turn. Knowing that to the day, to the hours, and doing the technical analysis with maths to gather pricing is how we can have a proper edge that will leave you that'll stop you from guessing. Obviously, I get a lot of eye rolls, raising of eyebrows and so on, but I've been doing this for years and this is how it works. In any case, here are two reports. Now, what did I do? What was the report? I got a PDF report just like this, just like the one you get in the members area in the Cycle Edge report area, right? So we're here in the Cycle Edge report zone, and a report just like this, just like what you guys see. So I did one from the 1st of January into the 19th of August. And I actually did it because I had to send one upon a request to a hedge fund, right? They're doing fintech. It's a fintech hedge fund. So they wanted to check it out. So I said, fair enough. I sent them the PDF, and I also got curious. So, I gave the same thing, the same PDF actually, to ChatGPT and to also Gemini AI. And I gave them the prices from the 1st of January to the 19th of August. And I uploaded a CSV file with a high, low, opening, closing price for every day. And I did it for Bitcoin because that's what they wanted, and it's open 7 days a week, and the report is 7 days a week. So it was quite handy. So it was just one PDF report. So this is what ChatGPT gave me. So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger maybe for you. But, well, okay, in any case, this should kind of like fit in. And I'm thinking you can read it, right? This is the dashboard. So it's given me a summary here. It's Bitcoin. It's been forecasted from 1st of January to December 31, 2026. That was like a 1 year report. But obviously we can't have a 1 year report because of the pricing information, right? So in order to back test the success rate, we've got to try and test it with what already happened. So the price source, user uploaded BTC USD max CSV. I got that from the internet, and then basically just told ChatGPT to evaluate it. And then it did an evaluation, it did an interpretation, and this is kind of like the diagnosis, right? The summary. So works great, 1.5 and 2% displacement capture. Combined success was 97.9%. Maybe I can move this. Can I move this to here? Maybe not. Okay, so I don't know what else is written behind there. But we'll go on to that next page. 4% macro displacement. Combined success was 55.3%, with high tension critical reached 66.7%. So if I was to do a high tension critical day, then I could get a 4%, 66% of the time. That is pretty good. And if I was to go for a 5% displacement, I could get a 41.5%. And this is a stricter structure with volatility. Let's see what's written up here. This is a stricter structural volatility filter. And then I've got drain and vector days in this close to MFE tests were weak at 4% and 5% thresholds. So obviously those days we're going to look out for and not trade with them with a bigger volume, right? So it's giving me basically how much I'm earning, how much I'm making, and what's the probability of me getting 1.5 to 2% if my trade day or swing day works out. Okay, that's what it's telling me, and here's basically the summary. Now here we have to understand a few things, right? This is the threshold, 1.5%, 2%, 4, and 5. Exact date. Now, exact date is important, okay, because the exact date is important because there are two ways you can trade it. I can either do it exactly on the swing day that I recommend, right? Like on, for example, let's see here with Bitcoin, right? This is, let me check out what week. This is Sunday. So for example, for the week of August to 22, August from 16 to 22nd of August, that week we had Tuesday, and then we had Thursday, Friday. As you can see, Tuesday was a 3-star. And if I look at the weekly insight, remember we need to go to the weekly insight first. And here's the weekly insight. That's the Tuesday where I'm expecting a shift. And then Thursday. So if we have a shift on Tuesday, it should go to Thursday, Friday. And then what do I have? I've got macro events for the week, and that's it. This is all I need to read, right? That's the whole of the weekly insight, and the new report is going to be just up to here because all of that, from what I heard, you're not really using, and it's not necessary unless you took cycle timing from me. And so it's going to be really practical. So you got the weekly insight, and we got day by day what's happening, right? So this is the 16th coming here, as you can see, from Sunday. And remember, the week starts on a Sunday, ends on a Saturday. So, well, actually, let's take a look, right? So Tuesday the 18th, Bitcoin. This is Tuesday the 18th, right? So as you can see, you have a shift here, and the market just blasts to the upside, okay? Previously on that the previous week, remember we had the highs, we sold into the low, so we're looking for a turnaround. Now on this day, this is the 17th, right? And let's take a look at that as well. The 17th is a Monday, all right? And you can see it's a high tension critical day. Vector day is routine to shock. What does that mean? It's a shock day, okay? So on the daily insight, if you take a look at the whole thing, you're thinking, okay, it's a shock day. So we're going to have a day where there's volatility, and this is going to like help us out, okay? And look at what the report is using as well. It's saying, well, wait a minute, you know, we can have a shock day, so we can use these things like it's a on the vector day, right? Vector days, it can be like a shock day. It could be, there's another shock day on Tuesday, and then we have a flow day, so we want to continue with the flow. And it tells you as well on the vector days, right? So it's obviously calculating these things. Look what it's saying. Vector day, shock to flow, low friction, moves run cleanly. And that's on a Wednesday, right? So that's your Tuesday, and that's your Wednesday. See how everything is just running cleanly. So knowing all these things in advance says, well, okay, we should just keep on with the trade then, shouldn't we? And that's what you need to follow. So ChatGPT and Gemini, I told them the same thing, guys. Look at the report and, see what you make of it with respect to the pricing. Are we successful or are we not successful on the turn days? And so these are the results, okay? So let's take a look at the threshold here. Now, the combined means that I had a success on that day or plus 24 hours. Why? Because a cycle sometimes does a minus or plus 24 hours, but I didn't want to take into account the minus 24 hours. Why? Because we're trading intraday or within the week. So we're trading intraday or intra-week. I'm not keeping a position open for days and days. I can keep it open within that week, because if I know I've got a trade day on Tuesday or Monday, like this volatility day, it's a shock day, I want to get into the market. If I'm trading on Monday, Tuesday to go in a direction, I don't really want to get out of a good position if it's going to go into Thursday and Friday. And this is exactly what we're seeing here, right? So if it's telling me, listen, oops, I've got a good start on Tuesday and the direction picks up, it's telling me, listen, we're going into Thursday, Friday, and there's really no need to get out of the market. And on the daily insight, it's telling me, well, after that shock day on Monday, Tuesday, we're just going to flow with it on Wednesday, flow with it on Thursday, flow with it on Friday. So why would I get out early? And then on Saturday, I have a routine day. Well, let's check it out. So that's your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Well, Saturday, it's a routine day. It's an inside day. So you'd just be getting out of the trade, and that's basically it. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. All right. And that's the whole idea of the report. You know what's happening in advance. And I know it sounds crazy to a lot of people, but you should believe what you see rather than what you assume, because assumptions are always wrong. And that's your exact rate. So if I have a plus 24 hours added to that, it didn't really change. For the 2%, I got 84%. If I added to the 24%, I've got 82. So overall rating is an 87.2%. And if I go down to 4, and if I go up to 4 and 5%, I go down into, as you can see, my success rate is hanging around 44 and 30%. Can we make these winning trades? Of course we can. Remember, this is just the timing. Remember when I said last week on Monday, guys, this is a buy zone on the TSM. Look where they bought, right on the line. And it was also the case for the daily. Remember, we had a daily price zone there. So this was like, that's it. This is a zone where we get in, and we had targets, and we just follow through into there. So there's no real dramas there. Okay. And all you have to do is just follow the report, and you'll see how things are going. So if you can read the report, make your plan accordingly, then you're gonna obviously be more successful. You can increase your hit rate. And then I've got the category performance. So it divided it up into high tension, critical. That's good, because I can see when we're making less profits. So combined rate on that one is like 42, right? So high tension, critical, threshold 5%. So that's not good. But high tension, critical, look, 4%. It's like 66.7% success. That is bloody good. So those are like good rates. It tells you like what's happening. If I got structural volatility, how successful am I? Well, I'm like in the 96% on the 1.5%, and on the 4%, I got 37%. So this is like data. This is information which we can use. So accordingly, I can say to myself, well, it's a swing day, plus it's structurally volatile. I can take 2% off this. I can take 1.5% off this. So I can actually cover the trade after 1.5%, or take half and let the rest run if I've got a target ahead of me, which I know from the TSM indicator. Remember, that target on the weekly was 78,924, and that's on Friday. Remember, we're going into Thursday, Friday. So on Thursday, Friday, it goes up. Friday gets there, and you can see the market just going sideways. And yesterday I said to the guys, we're going sideways. We're either going to break this to the upside or break this to the downside, and that's it. Do we still have room up here? Yeah. I mean, on the weekly, that's the zone, right? Let me get rid of that. Why do I have that there, you might be asking? Because I'll just show you here. Okay, it's the top of the channel. Okay, bottom, top. Yeah, I use classical technical analysis. It works. Now what I want to do, I'm going to look for a trade day from the tops for a possible sell, but keeping in mind the gaps. So I know levels that I want to be looking out for. All right, that's the zone. Sold before. Whoops. Let's get back here. And that's it. So this zone is going to be a sell zone again, maybe a stop sweep slightly above here, and that's it. But when am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to do it on a trade swing day, aren't I? So I'm going to look into the next week. Well, let's come to this week and check it out, right? Here we are. This is the week of 23rd to the 29th. So what do I have to look at? Well, look, Monday, Tuesday, that's what I got to look out for. Expecting a market turn window Friday 14th of August, Monday 24th August, cycle build, 10 days, about 1 to 1.5 weeks. Okay, so let's take a look at the 14th of August. Look, from the 14th, this cycle built up from the 14th. Where is the 14th? Guys, that is the 14th. Remember the previous week, 2 weeks ago, top, end, boom. Okay, so that's the previous week. So it's coming from there, going all the way into Monday, and I've got Monday and Tuesday. So what is it telling me for Tuesday? Well, it doesn't say anything here for Tuesday, but let's go into the weekly insight. Let's take a look. This is the weekly insight, right? So I got, look, Monday, Tuesday. That's the same sentence as above. And I've got Saturday as well. But in the weekly insight, look what it says. Tuesday, 25 August, 6:55 a.m. Well, it is currently 6:21 a.m. Remember, this is according to my time, 6:15. So I want to take this into 6:55. Whoops. 6:55 is going to be on a 6:45 bar. Okay, so I'm going to keep that there. Just see the beauty of it. Tuesday, 25 August, 6:55. Intraday cycle leaves extreme range. Overshoot condition ends. Normal technical levels reassert. Short horizon, 1 to 3 day period. So looking for a retracement into Friday, 1 to 3 day period. Not a bad idea. All right, so if we do reverse, if we come back, if we retrace, we should retrace into Friday, Saturday. Saturday, high impact lands with a larger macro event. So I've got to be careful for Saturday. So two things can happen. We can, after taking this high of yesterday, we can dip back in, break. Let me show you. Yesterday I said the same thing, guys. This is the rectangle. We can stop sweep. Okay, go up there. This is a stop sweep as well. Look, they stop sweeped on both sides. Okay, and then they broke out exactly according to this Tuesday. Anybody who took this as a stop sweep and sold, they got stopped out. Okay, does that make sense? So waiting for Tuesday is the logical thing to do, because it tells you, look, overshoot condition ends 6:55 a.m. Tuesday. How convenient to know that in advance. And this is like what I said, guys, wait for Tuesday. This is going to be tricky. And I did give them time as well. And you guys know now also know the time as well. Okay. You can also combine that to your weekly market timing. Crikey, which means I've got to start working on this for September. It is the last week of August. Okay. So that is how it is. Now on the daily, all you have to do is just bring things together on a Tuesday. All right. It's an apex day. It's a standard, but it's an apex day. So strategic increase favors continuation. Alert windows. Look at this. Flash breakout volatility from 3 to 6:35. Let's check it out. This is 3 o'clock. This is 3 o'clock. 3:15, 6:35. Well, that's just 6:45. So this is just 6:35 here. How convenient. How accurate. Okay, so this is the kind of accuracy which I have printed out on the 23rd of July, and I did this for the whole year and just sent it over to the guy. I said, he's a fintech guy, so I said, look, take a look, and this is how it looks like. All right, so do your own analysis. But as you can see, that's what ChatGPT did. And this is how it is. So I'll just scroll down. You can take a screenshot and you can do your own evaluation. Also, the turn date validations, right? Check these out. I'm just going to gently scroll through because people like to check things and validate them and do it. If you actually want a copy of this report, I can also send it to you. Just email me, and it's only a Word document. You can see here it's all nice and easy. Scrolling down, it's telling me whether it's a standard day, it's a routine day, it's a drain day, gain day, shock day. You can see it's got all these analysis here. Macro failures. All right, so this is also good to know. It's giving me dates. Okay, so I want to know where we're failing, how we did with that. So once again, just scrolling it down so you can check it out, or like I said, ask for a copy of the report and I'll email it to you. And then we've got the price data. Now this is the data which I got off the internet. So I've got the price date, the closing price. I gave actually not just the closing price but the high, low, close and open. And you can check that as well, how the price closed. Why is it using maybe just a closed price? Is because it wants to check if the market closed higher, because that's how it's measuring my returns, right? Here, as you can see. So it's giving me all of the returns and so on. So let me just make this a little bigger. And so on, right? So accordingly, this is the daily close returns, right? So let's make this a little bigger and fit it in. And also it's explaining here the methodology. Right? So it gives us an idea of what it did, how it did it, and that's it. And this is the one with Gemini. And nicely, they came out with the same kind of results. So this is the methodological criteria. Standard volatility baselines, 1.5 to 2% thresholds. So success rate is nicely above 90, and that's how it is. As you can see here as well, as we get to 4 and 5, that it's reduced. The success rate on the exact date is less, and then it's got strategic observations here. Okay, at the end of the day though, just if you read it and you plan it out, you're going to see that it really guides how you're working with it. So seeing these things in advance is really good, and it's also telling you what to look out for. All right, so expansion expected in technology, software, communication, impact 3 to 5 days. So for example, you'd be looking at NASDAQ to see if we're going to be going up, where we can go up from, if it's going to be impacting 3 to 5 days from Tuesday. Okay, this is from Tuesday onwards. So, and you can check that out as well. All you have to do is just go through the report, and you can see what it's telling you. It's already telling you, look, it's a gain day, right? So Monday, gain day. Tuesday, gain day. Wednesday, is that Wednesday? Gain day, and it's an apex day. So if you're going to wait for a turnaround, and if you're looking to go south and sell off, then you say to yourself, okay, you know what, let's see where we're going to do this. Let's see how I can get in at the right time. When's this going to happen? And that's basically it. Thursday, drain day. Friday, Friday's also drain day. Let's see what Saturday is. Saturday is a peak day. Peak is volatile. Okay, so don't take it like we're going to the moon. Peak means that there's going to be like activity. It's like a shock day. So peak will have volatility in there. That's why sometimes it's a peak day. It can make a low. Peak doesn't mean necessarily up, but it means there's going to be like volume in there, right? So peaking off volume kind of thing. I hope this video helped you out in also evaluating, how you can use this in your trading. But what they're going to do with the hedge fund is that they're just going to turn their bots on and off according to the dates. So if they're expecting a high success probability rate, according to their own calculations, like, if they get anything near what we have with, what I did with ChatGPT, then they're going to say, okay, you know what, these days, are good. We're just going to turn the bots on these days. These days are also okay. If you've got a good risk return ratio, we could enter these with a smaller lot size and just let it go. And remember, this is just the timing, right? Remember, always we have the TSM pricing. TSM pricing, it'll tell you the price you need to be buying at and getting out at. Okay, so for the whole week. So that's it. Hope that helps. Have a good day. I hope the sound worked out much better in this video.